morning. Welcome to the mat today. Go ahead and find yourself a throw blanket off the couch. Maybe a towel works really well out of the linen closet. And something that could suffice for a block today. So we want it to be sturdy. So maybe if you've got a thick book. I don't love a pile of books unless you're being really, really careful because they can slide. So just consider what you might be able to use for that. The beautiful thing about video is you can pause it and go search for something that you can use for that. We're going to begin lying down. And so going ahead and finding your place in the space. So lying down on the mat and just considering a little bit of balance between the right and left sides of the body. We carry ourselves a little bit to one side, all of us do. And so oftentimes we come to the mat, we notice we're a little heavier on one side than the other. So let's walk the hips a little bit further away from the shoulders. It's going to give us some length in the spine, but we still want to feel where the lower back pulls away from the mat a little bit here, that little bit of space. And then drawing one shoulder blade and then the other underneath. We're not pinching them together. We're simply drawing them down and together a little bit to open the chest, create a little bit more of a solid foundation. We'll walk the heels a little bit away from each other, just creating some space. Oftentimes that really gives a nice soothing feeling of openness from the hips all the way down to the toes. Some nice external rotation at the hip. We're going to bring the hands a little bit away from the hips, maybe 6 or 8 inches, and then just turn those palms skyward in that gesture of receiving. A little bit of openness here. Now tuning in when we do that, depending on how we feel when we come to the mat, when we open those hands up, we're really exposing the front of the body. And there is this sort of primal change in our energetics in that feeling of vulnerability. So if that's not feeling great for you when we start our practice, go ahead and turn those palms down toward the floor, giving ourselves a little more grounding here, a little more presence if we're feeling a little bit floaty or too open. Going ahead and noticing the breath as we come to the mat. And again, we're always just noticing. It's that sensation of awareness, and then we accompany that awareness with acceptance. So we're just open to the feelings that are happening, open to wherever the breath is as we come to the mat without judgment. Now, anytime we bring awareness to the breath, we begin to unintentionally apply intention to the breath, and go ahead and begin to feed that now. Little bit deeper breath on each inhale, and by deeper that actually means deeper, so lower in the lungs. We're not working on bringing the body up. We're not working on expanding the chest up or working on expanding the belly up. It's all about bringing the oxygen lower into the lungs. That's what we're working on. Some lung breathing versus belly breathing. So go ahead on each inhale, just a little bit lower into the chest with the breath. On the exhale, allowing that breath to just really slowly and smoothly completely exit the body. And once we've found that place where the breath is coming in nice and comfortably full into the lower lungs, and the exhale is escaping nice and smoothly all the way from the body until we feel that little draw of the belly button toward the spine. We're going to begin to notice the pauses between the inhale and the exhale. So those pauses we lengthen by just about 1 second. It's not a hold, it's not a grip. It's just a gentle awareness before we begin that next piece of the breath. So we inhale until we find that nice complete breath. We pause gently there, and we exhale all the way to the base of the breath, and we pause once again there at the base. And so the next time you breathe in, we're going to bring a little bit of counting into our breathing practice this morning. And so the next time we breathe in, we're noticing our count on the inhale, whatever that is for you, 4, 5, whatever that is. It depends on how fast we're counting and the depth of the breath, but you are going to assign a number to that inhale. We still got that little 1 second extra pause at the top. And that exhale is going to have that same length, that same number as the inhale. And then find the pause at the base. And we're going to work through that for maybe 2 or 3 rounds. As it's feeling comfortable for you with the inhale maintaining that same length on the exhale, we're just going to bring 1 extra count in. So if your inhale was 4, your exhale is now going to be 5. By lengthening the exhale a little bit, we bring a little soothing into the nervous system. We're actually decreasing the stress level in the nervous system that we carry with us on a regular basis. So just adding that little bit of extra exhale, really important. You can bring that into your practice off of the mat as well when we notice our breath as we're wandering around during our day. If it's comfortable for you and you'd like to try lengthening that exhale by an additional count, so that would be 2 counts longer than the inhale, you can go ahead and do that now or maintain whatever is feeling appropriate for you, that same count or 1 second longer. Let's move through that complete breath, whatever that is. A couple of more rounds, maybe 2 or 3 more rounds. And then as you're ready, gently setting that breathing practice aside, we're beginning to change that relationship between the mind and the body, allowing the mind once again to relinquish control of the breath, let the body take over, and the mind becomes that objective observer. This takes a couple of rounds, and remembering that anytime we have an awareness of the breath, we do bring in a little intention. So there's a little gentle interplay there, but we're mostly just coming into the body, finding its own natural breath once again. And then remembering in Hatha Yoga, we move our bodies in accordance with the breath. As we inhale next, we'll float the fingertips skyward into that sleepwalker place. Let's spread those fingertips, come into a nice big starfish with the hands. Inhaling here, exhaling, relaxing the hands. Inhaling once again, starfish hands, really exaggerated open fingers. Exhaling to release. Inhaling one more time, nice big starfish hands. Open that tissue in the palms. Exhaling, release. We'll come into a little reaching above us, as though we're reaching for something off of a tree. Aligning your movement with your breath as it works for you. And we're coming into those starfish hands as we reach for something really large. Maybe it's a grapefruit off of a tree high above us. And notice there's a rocking in the shoulders. We're lifting that shoulder, getting a little massage in the upper back. So go ahead and rock back and forth. Get that exaggerated movement for the shoulders. And then pausing there, we'll turn the thumbs toward the back of the room. Palms are facing. And we'll bring the hands toward the back of the room. We'll inhale the palms back up, or the hands back up skyward. Turn the palms down toward the floor and float the hands down along by the side body, sweeping up once again, right up overhead. Let's turn those palms toward each other and float the hands toward the back wall. And so with the palms facing each other, floating the hands back up overhead, turning the palms to the front of the room or towards the toes, and then sweeping with the wrists bent. The hands are painting that front wall, sweeping back up in the other direction with the wrists, palms face toward each other, and then floating the hands
back toward that back wall. Just noticing how we move the wrists makes a difference in the rotation of the shoulders. So as the palms are faced toward each other, we've got the elbows closer to the ears as we come behind. When we come up overhead, turning the palms toward the front of the room, sweeping those palms down, getting a nice stretch in the wrists. Go ahead and do that one more time, painting the front of the room with the back of the hands, coming up overhead towards the sky, turning the palms toward each other, and then floating the hands up behind or back behind the head toward that back wall. While we're here, we're going to walk the feet over to the left side of the left corner of the mat, making a little banana shape in the body. We'll bring the shoulder girdle over to that side of the mat as well. Notice we're not lifting one shoulder to get over there. We're just bringing the shoulders over so that the body is getting a nice stretch through the side body on the right side. So the left hand will gently grasp that right wrist, just bringing a little bit of a draw into the side body. If this is too much on the shoulder, it's not about the shoulder, it's not about the arm. So we can take a bend in that elbow and still get a really nice stretch through the side body. Another option here is to cross that right ankle over the left ankle, just getting a little more traction in the low hip, coming into some deeper breaths here. As we inhale, walking back to center, walking the feet back to center, we'll reach those hands out behind us, palms are facing, inhaling the fingertips skyward, turning the palms down toward the floor. Let's exaggerate that wrist action, painting the front wall as we bring the hands down toward the floor, turning the wrists or the hands in the opposite direction, painting with the wrists coming up, fingertips overhead, palms are facing, and we float the hands back up overhead toward that back wall. Let's walk the feet toward the right side of the mat. We're going to walk the shoulders toward the right side of the mat. Notice both shoulders are staying on the floor. Right hand gently grasps the left wrist. And again, noticing we're different on both sides. So if this shoulder's a little tender, take a bend in that left elbow. It's about the side body stretch. We can cross that left ankle over the right ankle, come into some deeper breaths here. Beautiful. As we inhale next, we'll unravel, coming back to center, releasing the hands. Palms are facing toward each other. Reach those fingertips skyward. And then we're going to pause here. Let's place the right hand on the left shoulder. Left hand on the right shoulder underneath. So your right elbow is on the top here. As we inhale, we're floating the elbows up over the face. Exhale, floating down. So a little different stretch in the shoulders. Now, really nice to be aware of your feet. So remember, every shape is a full body shape in our yoga practice. We can always turn the toes up toward the shins, get a little activity in the legs. We're moving with our breath here, expanding underneath that right armpit, the left elbow sort of lifting up. On the left elbow, expanding here. We can change this arm shape a little bit if we're looking for a little more expansion. The elbows stay connected. So this is where people get a little confused. If we're going to bring the hands away from the shoulders, elbows are going to stay connected and we can bring the palms of the hands together. If the elbows start to come apart, come back into that hug shape with the right elbow on top. Another option is to come all the way around with the palms of the hands, and we come into that same movement. Inhaling, bringing the hands down toward the floor. If we're in this full eagle arm shape, if we're in that crossed arm hug, we're just lifting those elbows. It's the same expansion in the shoulder. Beautiful. Coming back down, we're releasing the hands wherever they are. Open those hands right up towards the sky so that we have the hands directly out from the shoulders and the palms are facing towards the ceiling. Let's place the feet on the floor. Knees are toward the ceiling. And we're just going to gently float the knees from side to side. We're waking up the low back here. Remembering that this is a really slow float.
and we're going with the movement of the breath. So oftentimes we do this and the body is just starting to move really quickly. This is where our yoga mindfulness comes in. The movement that's slow and aligned with the breath creates expansiveness and also strength and awareness. And those are the things that we're going for in our practice. So oftentimes we bring in that sort of quickened pace from off of the mat, but remember why we come to yoga. Nice and slow, focused movement. Beautiful. We'll pause there at center. Fingertips will rise once again. Let's give ourselves that hug once again. Opposite hand to opposite shoulder. This time the left elbow is on top. As we inhale, reaching those elbows just a little bit skyward, expanding that left armpit, opening up underneath the inside of the rotator cuff. Moving with your breath. I want you to be aware of your knees, aware of pressing into the four corners of your feet, or four corners of the base of your feet into the floor. Remember, awareness in every shape. Now we can change up this arm structure as well. We can bring the backs of the hands together, or we can come all the way around with the palms together, but aware that those elbows are connected. That's what's creating that tension in the back of the shoulder on the left side, and that's going to create that openness. So doing what feels good and appropriate on this side, remembering we don't need to do the same thing on each side. We are tending to each area of the body as it needs to be tended. So that's what balances us out in the long run, is that nurturing and attention. Nice. We'll come back to center with the hands unravel. Fingertips will raise skyward. And then we're going to cross that right ankle over the left knee. I want you to be aware of the toes on the right foot drawn up toward the shin. When we take that knee out of its natural alignment, it is vulnerable. And so when we draw the toes up toward the knee, we create that activity in the leg that's going to support the knee. Let's bring the hands down to that left thigh. We're interlacing the hands behind the left thigh. Now, if the back is a little bit tight this morning, it might feel like the arms are not long enough. We wind up lifting the shoulders to get that leg. Better to use a strap, a yoga strap, or a belt, or a man's necktie, anything really, to make the arms a little bit longer so that we can reach from here, because we don't want to be lifting the chest. It's really about the stretch in the hips. So we begin to move with the breath. Toes are drawn up on both sides toward the shin. As we exhale, we're picturing ourselves drawing the legs in, squeezing out the air in the lower lungs. As we inhale, floating away, opening up. Go ahead and move with your breath. This is a pretty nice juicy stretch for most people. We're working on the piriformis muscle on the right side. That is the sacrum's hammock. So the sacrum is those 5 fused bones at the base of the spine. So really important for the whole structure there, for that to have openness and mobility, but also strength. It also surrounds the sciatic nerve. And so if there's issues there, either it's too tight or it's too loose, we wind up with issues with nerve pain down the legs. And go ahead and float this in and out. Beautiful. We'll pause in stillness at center. We're raising that left leg skyward, pressing the heel towards the ceiling, and then releasing that knee, full bend. Inhaling, pressing out long, feeling that nice big stretch in the belly of the hamstring. And we do these repetitions to remind the body of our flexibility. So go ahead and move with your breath. We're lengthening and releasing. Beautiful. The next time the left leg is stretched out long, awareness of the toes. Did we lose some of that attention? Draw the toes in toward the shin. and then take some circles with that left ankle. Some circles, maybe counter, it doesn't matter which way, one way, then the other way. Opening up the sides of the legs, maybe getting some bigger circles as we move into this. Other direction one more time. Touching on that IT band, waking that up, getting a little warmth. Beautiful. Coming into stillness, toes are drawn up toward the shins. Float that left heel down to the left hip. Release the hands. Place them out to the side body like wings, and the palms are down toward the floor. Now we're going to float the whole leg structure down to the left side of the body. So the right foot comes down toward the floor. Shoulders stay on the floor. So this is some openness in that right hip. Couple of deeper breaths. Beautiful. As we inhale next, we're going to press the hands into the floor, lift that leg structure, little strength in the core. Exhaling one more time, floating down toward that same side, toward the left. Inhaling, little core, lifting the leg structure back up to center. And one more time, I lied. Coming down to the left side, float that leg structure down. Nice oblique core work here as we float the legs back up to center. Beautiful. From here, we're crossing the right knee all the way over the left knee here. Okay? We're going to turn the palms skyward, float the fingertips up overhead. We're going to give ourselves a hug with the right elbow on the bottom. Okay, we've got the right knee on the top. We've got the right elbow on the bottom. Beautiful. As we inhale next, let's draw the toes up toward the shins, lift the leg structure up off of the floor, and gently float it back down to the floor, nice and slow. Let's do that one more time, nice and slow. Toes are drawn up. We've got lots of activity in the legs and the core. And floating down. Beautiful. Now I want you to think about giving ourselves some nice support in the upper shoulders with the hands. As we inhale, we're going to lift from heart center, so where those elbows are. But we're not lifting with the forehead and the chin. That head stays in nice alignment as we exhale, bringing it back down to the floor. So just the chest is rising here, moving with the breath. Toes are still drawn up on that right foot. Beautiful. And maybe we can align those two movements. As we inhale, elbows come toward the knees, gazes toward the ceiling, not toward the knee. We're going to keep the head in nice alignment with the spine. Beautiful. Floating back down. We'll release the hands out to the side body like wings. Uncross those feet. Place the feet down on the floor, hips distance apart, and that gentle windshield wiper movement once again. Nice and slow, expanding the low back and the hips. Maybe taking the gaze over the opposite shoulder, just expanding that twist a little bit if it's comfortable in the neck. Coming back to center. Beautiful. And let's bring that left ankle, cross it over the right knee. We're going to bring the hands up toward the sky once again. Palms are facing, toes are drawn up on that left side. And then we're reaching the hands or that strap behind the right thigh. If the hands were interlacing the fingers, giving themselves that nice cuddle around the belly of the muscle. Toes are drawn up on both legs. Little piriformis stretch here. Remember that the movement is what cultivates that openness, that flexibility. So a lot of people want to just come into a big gripping stretch here. We get a lot of guarding in the hip when we do that. So the movement is soothing for the body, and sometimes we're not open to soothing ourselves. So that's something that we may want to just consider in our practice. But we don't need to overthink it. Just be okay with tending to yourself in a nurturing way. That's what the mat is for. We challenge ourselves here, but we challenge ourselves in a nurturing way. So drawing the leg structure in toward the chest, floating it away. And the next time we're a little more neutral here, we're pressing that right ankle or that right heel toward the ceiling. On the exhale, releasing. So go ahead and move through that really exaggerated movement here as we press through the heel. We feel that nice big stretch through the back body, floating back down. Nice. Next time we're out long, let's pause there. We're reaching through the heel, and we'll take some circles with the ankle, one direction, and then the other. One direction, and then the other. Beautiful. Toes are engaged, press through that heel, and then float that heel down toward the hip, release the hands, and that right foot comes all the way down toward the mat. Let's bring the hands out to the side body like wings, palms are down. As we exhale, we're floating the leg structure towards the right side of the body, left foot's coming down toward the floor. We'll pause here for a couple of breaths. As we inhale, pressing through the hands, we lift that leg structure slowly back up to center. Little oblique core work here. As we exhale, floating slowly to the floor. Remember, all these slow movements, really beautiful for cultivating strength. As we inhale, back up to center. As we exhale, floating back down toward the floor. Inhaling up to center. Nice. Here's where we're going to cross that left knee over the right knee. We bring our fingertips skyward, palms are facing each other, and this time we're hugging ourselves with the elbows, with the hands on either shoulder. This time the left elbow is underneath. Toes are drawn up on both feet as we inhale, lifting the leg structure. As we exhale, floating down. As we inhale, floating up. As we exhale, floating down. We'll do that one more time, just the leg structure. Nice, working the low abdominals. And then next time as the foot reaches the floor, we pause there. Toes are still drawn up on that left foot. As we inhale next, elbow and heart center rise. Gazes toward the ceiling. We're not lifting with the forehead. Floating back down as we inhale, rising. Exhaling, floating back down. One more time. Inhaling, rising. Exhaling, floating back down. Combining those movements. Toes are drawn up on the shins. As we inhale, elbows toward knees. Exhaling to open. Inhaling to lift, exhaling to open, and one more time. Inhaling to lift, exhaling to open. Beautiful. We'll bring our hands out to the side body like wings, palms up or down. Uncross the feet, placing both feet on the floor, hips distance apart, and we're slowly wagging the knees, windshield wiper fashion. We can take the gaze over the opposite shoulder if that feels good in the neck. We'll pause in stillness at center, bringing both knees into the chest. Let's wrap the hands around behind the thighs so they're underneath the knee. When we give a lot of pressure on the knee, sometimes that creates a little knee irritation. So as we exhale, let's draw the knees into the chest, big squeeze, big hug. As we inhale, floating them away. As we exhale, drawing in. And just noticing if there's any tension that's built up. This is a really beautiful way to relieve some of that lower back tension. And then if it feels good, the next time the knees are drawn in, we're going to lift with heart center first. So we lift, the gaze is skyward. Once we come into that nice deep hug, the spine is supported. We can look down toward the knees, coming into a full supported flexion of the spine. A couple of deeper breaths here is going to bring the breath into the back body, just like we do when we're in a child's pose. Can feel really nice in the back. As we inhale next, we'll release heart center back down to the mat. Float the feet down to the mat. And then we're floating over onto one side of the body. Just pausing here, finding our seed pose. So seed pose means we're tending ourselves. It is a place of transition, and oftentimes in practice we just come right through seed pose. We want to pause here. So make yourself comfortable. Give yourself permission to settle. The bottom arm cradles the head, giving support to the neck. And the knees are as bent as they need to be to support the back. We're feeling comfortable here and settled. Go ahead and be aware of the breath once again, moving in and out of the body. We'll picture a white ball of light right at the bridge of the nose, that third eye chakra there, our place of wisdom, our place of perspective. Go ahead and see that ball of light. It is moving, it's energetic. And as we inhale, we're bringing in that white light into every cell of the body. We're expanding ourselves with open-heartedness, open-mindedness, peace, patience, comfort, and joy. As we exhale, big sigh, release. One more time, drawing in that visualization or just the sensation that creates throughout the body, every cell. Exhaling, release. Let's do that one more time. Drawing that in through the body. Exhaling, putting something down. Nice. We'll lengthen out through that left leg. Press through, through that top leg. Press through that front hand. We're coming around. Now I'm going to come facing you now because it makes more sense for our standing series, but you're going to stay exactly how you are on the mat. I'm just changing how I'm situated so you can see me a little bit better. We're coming into our hands and knees, but because we're not going to be here too long, I'm not going to put the blanket across the mat. But again, you're always tending to your own practice. Let's find our hands and knees shape. And so oftentimes people think that their hips are as wide as their extra tissue, and that's not the case. We are all about the same width in the hips. So you think about this short edge of the block, that's about how wide we want our knees to be in order to really support the joints of the knees and the hips. So we'll start out there, look, make sure the feet are in alignment with the knees so the feet are tracking out behind. Hands start underneath the shoulders. Let's walk them one hand print forward to get a more natural angle of the wrist. We'll place the pointer finger pointing at this short edge of the mat. That offsets the hands a little, but the reason we do that is because then we get a spiral tension through the arms that helps to support the shoulders. Very important. As we inhale, we'll take the tailbone skyward, open up the heart toward the floor in front of the mat. The gaze is on the floor, not on the front wall. We keep the head in alignment with the spine. As we exhale, turning the tailbone down toward the floor, we're going to press through the hands so the back body is pressing toward the ceiling. Gaze is toward the knees. Let's come through that 2 more times. As we open, we're coming in to our cow shape. As we exhale, pressing into the hands, important for the spine. We're going to bring our gaze toward the knees. One more time, opening on the inhale, rounding on the exhale. Beautiful. Let's turn the toes under on the feet
so that we're getting some nice openness in the fascia of the feet. As we exhale next, we're going to sink the hips down toward the heels. Nice extended child's pose. Hands stay exactly where they are. As we inhale, opening up, let's sink forward. Opening up. The pelvis comes toward the floor. We're coming into a little different version of our cobra snake. Let's come back with the heels or the hips toward the heels. Coming up into our table shape. Toes are still curled under, and we're sinking the hips forward, opening up the chest. Let's sink the hips back one more time, really planting the hands. I want you to be aware of the knuckles of the hands pressing into the floor. We're going to begin to press through the balls of the feet, lift the knees up off of the floor, just about maybe 10 inches or so off of the floor. Sink heart center down toward the toes, and then we'll begin to take a little walk here. So heart center is really nice and open, and the knees are bent. I want you to be aware that downward facing dog is not about lengthen the legs. Downward facing dog is about openness and heart center, getting a nice long line between the hands and the hips. So a little walk here to open up the hips, the backs of the legs. Let's come into our paused downward facing dog. I'm just lifting up so you can hear me a little bit better. Our paused downward facing dog. We're going to open up heart center toward the toes. Knees are as bent as they need to be to get a nice openness through the chest. Let's lift that right foot away from the floor a little bit. Doesn't need to be a lot, or it can be right out from the hip. Find some stability in the pelvis. Hips should be parallel to the floor. So find some balance between those 3 points of contact on the floor. As we inhale, we're going to come forward. Shoulders come a little bit more over the wrists. As we move again with the breath, drawing heart center back down toward that toe. As we come forward this time, gaze comes between the hands. That's where that right foot is going. So that's a hook or crook moment. We're just taking as many steps as we need to get that foot right up there. Let's bring the hands to the inside of the foot. And bring the left knee down to the mat. Top of the foot comes down to the mat. We're going to walk the hands forward, sinking into the hip flexor on that left side. Couple of deeper breaths here. Now, some people get concerned when the knee comes out over the ankle. In this situation, what we're thinking about is this femur, this thigh bone. When the knee is out over the ankle, we just want to be sure that the femur isn't driving down into the knee. In this situation, it's coming down into the pelvis. It's nice and supported, the knee. As we inhale next, let's walk the hands back toward the knee, opening up the back of this right thigh. Couple of deeper breaths here. And then we're opening up that pinky toe down toward the floor. As we inhale, coming back up to center. Let's walk forward, visit those places one more time. Walking the hands forward, opening up that left hip. Walking the hand back toward that standing knee, opening up onto the heel of that right foot, meeting that hamstring, tipping the pinky toe down toward the floor, meeting that IT band. Good. Inhaling the toes back up to center. Let's bring the hands back in alignment with that front foot. Left hand will come down to the mat on the inside of the foot, and let's place that block there or the prop that we're using. Turning the toes under on that left foot. We'll bring the fingertips skyward on the right hand. We're opening up heart center toward that side wall. Couple of deeper breaths here. I want you to be aware of space between the bottom shoulder and the earlobe. And we can lift that back knee up off of the floor, pressing through that back heel. If
you today. This should feel nice and sturdy. We can always take the gaze up toward that top hand. Ensure that the fingertips are coming directly out of the shoulder. Beautiful. As we exhale next, we'll bring that back knee slowly down to the floor, sweeping the fingertips down as well. Top of that back foot comes down to the floor. We'll inhale, palms are toward each other, coming right up overhead. Nice and regal here. Palms come together, down to heart center. Now really aware of that standing left knee. If we can come into a little lift through this thigh, we actually engage the knee and it doesn't feel so vulnerable. It's a little more lifted and supported. Inhale, get tall through the spine. Exhale, turning heart center toward that, right side wall. Inhale, get nice and tall here. Exhale, we're going to bring the left elbow down toward the right knee. We can make contact there, and we can use it for a little bit of leverage to open up the twist a little bit. Couple of deeper breaths. And if it's working for you here, we can open up the hands into a T shape, reaching the fingertips away from each other. Remember to find some nice engagement and lift through the chest, through the crown of the head. Also an option to turn the toes under on the back foot and lift that back knee. Lots of balance here. Wherever we are, hands will come back to heart center. If that back knee is raised, go ahead and place it back down. On the floor, we're going to lift away and then untwist, coming back to center. Beautiful. Fingertips come skyward. And let's come onto the toes of that back foot so that we've curled the toes under. We're lifting that back knee off of the floor and hopping that foot forward a little bit. Beautiful. Let's find our warrior one legs here. Nice. Getting nice and tall. We'll bring our palms together down to heart center. And then we're turning once again toward that right side wall. Now, oftentimes it's nice to connect the thumbs to the center of the chest as we turn. Otherwise, we wind up with our arms way over here. Let's inhale, open up the arms out to the side body, little strength. Inhaling, coming back to center. Let's turn the palms skyward, float them up overhead, and then turn the palms toward the front of the room. We're going to sweep down all the way to the floor. Beautiful. I'm just going to set that block off to the side. Placing the palms down on the floor, we're going to come into a high runner's lunge and bring that front foot back. In alignment with the back foot, we come into our downward facing dog once again. Come into a little walk here. Expanding the back body. Beautiful. Pausing in stillness. Find that nice stable down dog. And then we're lifting that left foot away from the mat just a little bit or right out from the hip. Couple of deeper breaths. Press through the hands so we really feel supported in the shoulders. As we inhale, coming forward, shoulders come over the wrists. Exhaling, pressing back, three-legged dog. As we inhale next, coming forward once again, gaze comes between the hands. That's where that left foot is going. And placing the hands on the inside of the foot. Beautiful. Slowly bringing that right knee down to the mat. Top of the foot meets the floor. We walk the hands forward. We're finding that right hip. The right hip flexor on the inside there. Now it's oftentimes very, very tight for most people. We spend a lot of time flexing the hips, but not a lot of time opening them. So tending to yourself with the breath here.
Walk the hands back toward that standing knee. We're opening up the left leg, opening up the left hip. This is a pretty deep stretch because the hamstring is stretched all the way around from the pelvis to the knee. So we're getting a lot of length here as it stretches around the glute area. A couple deeper breaths. And then as you're ready, we'll bring that pinky toe down to the floor. Notice, like mine just did, if your knee wants to bend, it means you're probably a little tight there. So just don't go as far. See if you can maintain the length in the leg and just don't tip quite as far. We want that little bit of stretch there to happen with the breath. As we inhale, coming back up to center, let's walk those hands forward. We'll revisit that right hip. Walking the hands back. We're going to open up that left leg and then tipping the pinky toe down toward the floor. Remember I said toward. It might not even, get close. We're just going in that direction. We're coming back to center, walking the hands forward. Let's find that block. Place it on the inside of the front foot. Right hand meets the block. We'll turn the toes under on the back foot. Opening up, left fingertips come skyward. Now remember, we're reaching through the top fingers toward the sky and we're pressing through the bottom hand so that we're getting lots of lift through that T shape in the arms. We can press through the ball of the the right foot. Lift that right knee off of the floor. Couple of deeper breaths here. Beautiful. Floating the hand down, releasing the knee back down slowly. If that's where we're at, we're going to bring the block out to the side. Let's lift up. Fingertips will come skyward. Palms meet each other. I want you to find lift. So notice where I am here. And then if I bring some attention, I get taller. It actually supports my knee on the floor. I get a little more strength there. We'll bring the hands together and down to heart center. Get tall through the crown. We're turning heart center toward the left. Couple of deep breaths here. Lots of balance. Lift through the crown. We'll begin to float forward, bringing that right elbow toward the left knee. And we can find a little leverage there. That's okay. Couple of deeper breaths. Opening up heart center. If we want to spread those wings, that is an option here. And if we want to lift that back foot, also an option. We'll bring the hands back down to heart center. Very slowly, bring that back knee down to the mat. Let's lift, untwist. And coming back to center, we'll bring the fingertips skyward. Palms are facing each other. We turn the toes under on that back foot and lift up. Beautiful. Hop that back foot forward. We're finding our warrior one legs. Inhaling, reaching through the pinkies. Let's bring palms together, down to heart center. Once again, turning toward that left side. Get nice and tall. I want you to think about where the hips went when you did that. So think about keeping the hips stable. Thumbs at heart center. Inhaling, coming back to center. Let's float those fingertips skyward. Step forward with the back foot. I'm just going to move so I'm in the camera frame. We'll float the hands down. Let's find that block or prop. We're going to set up our mountain feet. So looking down once again, that's your distance. So that's the distance between the ankles to support the knees, to support the hip joints.
Just going to hold on to the block for a moment, setting up our mountain pose. Let's think about the four corners of the feet engaging with the mat. Lift those toes up, spread them. Exhale, placing them down. Coming up onto the balls of the feet, we're lifting the heels, engaging the ankles. So we're going to bring that attention up into the calf muscles, bring it up into the thigh muscles. We need to be careful with the thighs and the hamstrings because they can exert undue stress on the knees. The way we know that we've done that well is we just feel those kneecaps lift a little bit. And that's the support we want. It's a gentle attention. Think about the tailbone tipping down toward the floor. That's going to center the pelvis. Bring a little bit of attention into the core. We're going to bring that all the way up into the sternum area. Shoulders forward, up toward the ears, settle them down along the back, open across the chest. Let's turn those palms toward the front of the room, opening up the front of the body. Lift the crown of the head skyward, and then we're putting the chin in reverse just a little bit, realigning the skull with the rest of the spine. Couple of deeper breaths here. We're reconnecting with the breath, coming into some settling. So we are going to bring the block to the outside of the right foot. Find that mountain shape. Beginning to really find roots through the base of the right foot. We're coming up onto the toes of the left foot, but I want you to find length through the right side body. Get taller. Oftentimes we wind up sinking into the hip. Really bad for that socket. Get tall, nice and long. And then we can bring that foot across and just set it on the block. So adjusting where you want that block to be. We'll inhale, fingertips skyward, palms are facing toward each other. And we're going to give ourselves that hug, just like we did on the floor. This time, left elbow underneath, right elbow on top. Let's lift those elbows. Get that nice stretch, and then begin to take a bend in that standing knee. So we're coming into a modified eagle's pose here. This is a really beautiful place to be. Lots of strength. I want you to balance the weight between the four corners of the feet. Lift through heart center, so we're not sagging and rounded. We're lifted and regal. Think about that eagle. Now we can make a couple of adjustments here. With the elbows connected, we can bring the backs of the hands together or the palms. We can also lift those toes off of the mat, or we can wrap them around the back of the calf. Finding what works, remembering we're tall. We're not rounded through the spine. Wherever we are, as we inhale, we're lifting up, unraveling gracefully, and coming back down. Let's move that block to the outside of the left foot. Find that mountain shape once again. Really important to set up our places of balance. We're really creating a nice firm foundation. The roots through the left foot, coming up onto the tips of the toes on the right. We can cross that foot over, find the block. Inhaling, fingertips skyward. Giving ourselves that hug. Right elbow is on the bottom. We come into a bend in the hips, a bend in the knees. Heart center radiates. And this is where we can make those adjustments if it works for this side. Elbows are connected, backs of the hands come together or around. And we can take the toes off of the block if it's working. We can also wrap them around the back of that calf. Couple of deeper breaths. As we inhale, beginning to lift and unravel gracefully. Set that foot down, sweeping the hands down. Let's move that block off of the mat. We're inhaling, fingertips skyward. Exhaling, sweeping the hands down by the side body. And then sweeping them forward. And we're going to take a bend in the knees and the hips. Sit the hips back. We're finding our chair pose. Just briefly, lots of strength in the hips. And then with the shoulders down and along the spine, we're going to come into a half lift. I want you to be aware of that long back. Fingertips will come down towards the floor, gaze is toward the floor. Nice. Take a deep bend in the knees. One hand down to the floor, the other hand down to the floor. We bring one knee down to the floor, other knee down. Find your child's pose of choice. Knees together or apart. We find what's working for our body here. So ideally the head is not hanging, so we can place the hands underneath the forehead, either stacked fists or stacked hands. Couple of deeper breaths. We're reconvening with the breath in the back body. Nice deep breaths here. We're settling the mind, settling the breath. Let's consider here if there is a shape or a stretch that would feel really good to complete your practice. And we can go ahead and go there now, or beginning to move into Shavasana. That's our final resting pose of the practice. So if you're moving through a shape or a stretch, beginning to consider a place of stillness. And it can look very much like what we set up in the beginning of the practice, or it can be any other shape that feels really nice and settled in the body. Now, ideally, we're balanced on either side of the body, but sometimes we have limitations or maybe temporary restrictions that are happening that require us to modify and accommodate one place in the body. Go ahead and do what feels good. The ideal goal of Shavasana in the long run is that it is a place after our posture practice where the mind can find a place of stillness, at least for a few seconds. So go ahead and find that place of comfort, openness, balance in the body. And then without practicing a pranayama, a breathing practice, we're simply beginning to become aware of the breath once again. And we engage in that gentle playfulness between the intention of the mind and the natural breath of the body. We find this place of like little mindfulness dance. If the mind begins to wander, going ahead and gently drawing our attention back to the breath, coming back into the sensations of the breath, the movement of the breath. We're cultivating that gentle sense of intention, just an awareness. And we notice that throughout life, there are distractions, just as there are no. And we have gratitude for those distractions because when we become aware of them, we are aware that we have tools. And our primary tool in yoga is our breath. And so going ahead and allowing the mind to have that single focus on the breath, Just continuing to move the breath in and out of the body. Beautiful. Staying very present. Very nice. And as you're ready, just slowly beginning to deepen the breath. You're just taking a little bit more expansion into the chest. Not to its fullest extent, remembering that our breath is a journey. And then as you're ready, just beginning to take some small movements into the body, moving very slowly. We bring that sense of mindfulness and intention with us off of the mat when we create each movement as though a step on our journey. Beginning to come over onto one side, we're finding our seed pose and pausing there, remembering it is a place of comfort. Giving ourselves these few moments of awareness of the breath as we move. Calmness in the face. And then lengthening out through that top leg. We're pressing through that front hand. Beginning to gently press up into a seated shape.
Seated nice and tall, considering that length in the spine, one of the gifts of yoga, the primary gift of yoga, really. Lining up all of our systems, our energetic system, our organ system, our skeletal system, our muscular system, our nervous system, all of the systems lined up in a way that they work so well. Open through the chest, reaching through the crown, space in the neck. We'll bring the hands to heart center, just allowing the backs of the thumbs to rest gently on the upper part of the chest. Inhaling, exhaling, nice and long and slow. Thank you so much for joining me on the mat today. It is always an honor, a pleasure, and a joy to guide your practice from the beautiful sunshine of Tucson, Arizona, with the sounds of the birds and sometimes the garbage trucks, reminding us of our place in the world, both unity and our ability to calm ourselves. Until we see each other again, may you be well. May you have peace in your heart. May you find joy in small things. Remembering that you are both small and mighty. Namaste.